Service members of Reddit. What is your worst military wife story? While delivering our fourth baby at a military hospital, we were talking to one of the nurses about infidelity and crazy things she had witnessed. She told us about a woman coming in with her husband for a C-section that was not scheduled. The woman insisted that she was scheduled for a C-section that day. They did an ultrasound and found that she was 3 months pregnant. Not 9 months pregnant. She was willing to deliver a baby 6 months early so it would appear the conception lined up with her husband's mid-tour leave. Q. What's the difference between a 12-week delivery by C-section and a medical abortion? The C-section takes longer to recover from and is more likely to cause physical complications. I told this joke to my mom and she yelled at me. Standing gate guard in Washington, D.C. Officer's wife drives through the gate and presents her ID. I wave her through. She doesn't move, asking me if I forgot something. I said no. I didn't believe I did. She said I forgot to salute her, pointing to the blue sticker on her windshield. I leaned close to her windshield and saluted the sticker, wishing it a good afternoon. I got removed from that duty. Repeat after me. You are not your husband's rank. Our BN commander once gathered all the SNCOs, NCOs and officers and said the following. Gentlemen, your spouses do not possess your rank. You would all do well to make that abundantly clear to them. Whole battalion. 5-minute speech. It was super ominous. My dad was pretty high-ranking 06 when I was a kid and he was deployed often, but we'd still go to the commissary etc. Once when I was 10 I asked my mom why they were saluting her and she said, "They're not saluting me. They're saluting the car." I asked why they do that and she said, "It's because it has your dad's sticker on it." I thought this was weird but just chalked it up to one of those weird military things adults do. Honestly, it is weird, but not as weird as it would be for my mom to act like she was secretly commanding a submarine or something. I was stationed at FT. Knox KY in the late 80s. A soldier's child turned up missing. Damn near every soldier on FT. Knox was looking for this kid. We looked for days. Kid never turns up. I leave and move on. Several years later I'm sent back to FT. Knox. Out of the blue, a bunch of activity is happening at a park several miles away. The little girl turned up. Some of her anyway, and it turns out that the soldier's wife, the girl's stepmom, killed the girl. The soldier came home, found out and hid the body in the park. The whole case was solved because the older sister of the girl was starting to get worried she was next. Told a teacher who got the police involved. That the worst I've heard of. Over 20 plus years in the army. Plenty of cheating. Plenty of other stuff. Holy shiz man. I bet the soldier fucking. I'm sorry. What? You find out that your wife murdered your fucking child. And you cover for her? There are no words. That's fricked up, man. I feel sick. I got restationed back in the States from Germany. I flew my German girlfriend over and we ended up getting married. She went back to Germany 4 days later and I never saw her again. Lol. Whack. Had a friend do something similar. He married a German girl while in the army. They had 2 kids. He decided he missed USA and moved back here. His wife stayed there for 8 more years raising the kids. They wanted them to go to school there and be stable. So after about 8 years, she comes home. He almost immediately got a job as a trucker. I don't think he liked being around her. Lol. I am a military spouse. But worked as a DOD employee with the Marines. Got a call that a military spouse was in the hospital. Her place on base housing had gotten broken into. The 9-month pregnant spouse was raped and beaten and taken by ambulance to the hospital. The assault caused a miscarriage. I was devastated and went to the hospital with several officers in the Marines' chain of command. One of the nurses tending her looked me in the eye and said, "I am very interested in how this is going to play out." I was so confused. The 9-month pregnant rape and assault victim was given an ultrasound and blood work performed upon being admitted to the hospital. She hadn't been pregnant. She wasn't raped. Her due date was the next day and she's been faking the pregnancy the whole time. She beat herself up and carved herself up with a knife, then made up the rape story resulting in miscarriage as a way to cover up the 9 months of lying to her husband about being pregnant. I've never seen this level of crazy until 3 months later, when said Marine reunited with batshit crazy girl even after all that. We recently witnessed the exact same level of crazy. Soldier deploys. Is told by spouse a few weeks later that she just found out she's pregnant. Provides photos of positive pregnancy test. Ultrasound photos. Growing belly photos, the works. Suddenly the soldier gets a call from the Red Cross that his wife has been attacked and she lost the baby. He is flown home, weeping all the way. When he lands, he is immediately interrogated for a false Red Cross report. Turns out the wife faked the entire pregnancy as well as the attack and miscarriage. The soldier was still under the impression that his unborn son had died after his pregnant wife had been raped, and was nearly shocked into a nervous breakdown when they told him the truth. They cleared him of all involvement. Not sure what makes these women so batshit crazy. It destroys lives. Posting on behalf of my husband. Worst, they came back from a 15-month tour in Iraq. His platoon sergeant went home to find another man living in his house with his wife and kids. His kids' toddlers were calling the guy daddy. When he walked in, his wife basically said, "Yay. I want a divorce. I'm with him now." Worst part was the platoon sergeant and new daddy kinda worked together, but was one of the few who stayed behind for clerical stuff while the rest deployed. Yes, I know this is absolutely against the rules. This was when shiz was the Wild West and a DUI was an unofficial requirement for E6. ETA, I asked my husband what happened after this. He doesn't know what happened to Jody, aka Deployment Replacement Daddy. The husband threatened to take the kids and kick her onto the street, which he definitely had grounds to do. Instead she agreed to on-demand sex and threesomes, including summoning a prostitute if he wanted one and helping him keep it on the DL. Had me really concerned for half a second. Oh, I'm gonna post some of my friend's highlights. She was the midwife on an Air Force base. Delivered lots of babies. Colonel brought his 16-year-old daughter in because she was pregnant. Turns out the father was a new junior enlisted. He did not last long in the military. Dude's wife left him and moved in with her boyfriend off base while he was deployed. She got knocked up. Since they were still married, she was still going to the base for medical care. Their divorce wasn't final by her due date, so she still got to go on base and deliver. Her soon-to-be ex-husband, the military guy, had his buddies in security forces put a security flag on his soon-to-be ex-wife's boyfriend. The boyfriend couldn't be on base for the birth of his child. And always the favorite. Babies coming out with the wrong ethnic background of the father was at least a once-a-year thing. When my sister was in high school, she briefly dated the steward assigned to my dad, the captain of a Navy ship. He was a good guy. And I think what finally ended it for my sister was that it didn't hurt my dad enough. A guy in my shop, Air Force, deployed to Iraq for 4.5 months. Before he left, he signed over general power of attorney to his wife. While he was gone, she started fucking another guy in our shop, then signed the divorce paperwork as his power of attorney and his rights to see his kids, as well as draining his bank account. She went to live with the other guy in my shop and his friend off base. They were both arrested for check fraud when trying to pass off a check that was the roommates in the shop at on base. The guy she divorced eventually got full custody of the kids and the other guy in my shop got kicked out of the AF. There were other stories of cheating and all of that kind of shiz, but this one takes the cake. She actively worked to ruin his life when all he did was love his kids and get deployed to Iraq. Don't give anyone general power of attorney. Ever. I don't care how much you trust them or how much you think they love you. Don't do it. You can give them specialized power of attorney that only allows them to handle your affairs that you very specifically need them to handle. General POAs are basically worthless nowadays. Saw a newer airman with no belt on. I asked, why don't you have a belt? He said he can't afford one, so I give him $5 and tell him to go get a belt. A few weeks later I see him at Ruby Tuesday cleaning tables. I ask around, and apparently his wife was growing weed in base housing and he got kicked out of the military. He swore he didn't know what she was doing. Do you believe him? Got back from an 8-month deployment. Buddy's wife was 6 months pregnant. FedEx is amazing. Really. The issue is that people forget the military is filled with 18 to 20-year-old boys, many of whom IMO lacked relationship experience, and marry the first girl who gives them attention. I can't tell if you're trying to spell head or ass there. My brother-in-law was on both sides of shizzy cheating stories. He married a woman he chatted to online for a few weeks when he was 19. Then he had to go to Iraq. A month after he left, she told him that he got her pregnant. He comes home after 6 months, then she has the baby. The baby definitely is not his. Fast forward 10 years. He's married to an awesome chick we all like. She works a job and takes care of everything around the house. He cheats on her with an 18-year-old girl that worked at Sonic. She catches him and leaves for a weekend to go stay with her sister to figure out what to do. He puts all her stuff in cardboard boxes out under the carport and moves in the new girl. He really is a piece of shiz. Well, he found Jesus a few years back and now he's still a piece of shiz. Just one that blames his shizzy behavior on the devil.